Hi, it's Jessie. I'm back again, and we were talking about iniquity. So let's read the definition one more time. Iniquity is a violation of the right or duty that mankind is under obligation to do. In democracy, we're not ruled by a king. We all rule. But the democracy fails when people don't respect the rights of each other. Okay? In order for true democracy, to succeed, there has to be some degree of collaboration and working together to form a perfect union. But if you set forth these rights, these certain unalienable rights, these rights that you can't take away from man, the whole fabric of democracy is just, it crumbles. It goes into nothing, In order for us to, hey, kitty, got a little kitty and he's clawing my chair. He needs a scratchy post. We're going to go get him one. But if you don't respect the rights of your neighbor, if you spy on your neighbor or do things that would undermine them, if you seek to sabotage them, then democracy fails, because we are not, hey kitty, hey kitty, because we're not operating in collaboration anymore when you do this to your neighbor, but instead we're operating under the guise of we can rule over one another, and it's not a rule over kind of thing. You understand? You can't rule over your neighbor. We have to collaborate and find what is agreeable amongst all of us, I gave the example of my daughter told me she wants to be a boy, and she told me she's felt this way for many years, and, she just needs someone to talk to about it. And it's nonsense, okay? And I don't want to get hit by that whole gender rights movement thing, but my daughter is the girliest girl you'd ever want to see. She loves makeup, absolutely loves makeup. I don't wear makeup, but I have makeup, or I had makeup before she got a hold of it. She loves beauty treatments, and when we don't have them, she's searching for how to make homemade beauty treatments. She likes pretty dresses. She likes having her hair look cute. When her older brother had friends over, she was so in love with the little boy with his little curls coming out his head. She was so enamored by him, She does not have the character of a girl in a boy's body, okay? She definitely does not. And so when she came and she's like this, I'm like, who is putting ideas in your head? Because this is not you. Maybe this is you wanting to be a part of this movement. You want to be a part of something bigger, but you don't understand. Like, people gave Ron DeSantis so much flack over the laws that he passed, right? And I'm sorry to say for him, but he did do it wrong. Okay, but I'm not saying that what he did was wrong, because it was wrong. But he had the right intentions. When you understand that you're not just having your own rights, you are changing the standard for everyone, because it's a democracy. And when you have a relationship with another person, when you want to define your own identity, that is something for you to decide, and you to decide alone. But when you bring that mess into the community and say everybody has to support girls who want to be boys and boys who want to be girls, they have to be allowed to play on the opposite gender team because they want to be a girl. When you start getting into that, that's where you're wrong. Your personal choices are your personal choices, and you're not respecting my rights if you make me go along with your nonsense. And I'm sorry to call it nonsense for you, because it's probably not nonsense for you. But in my house, it is nonsense, because my girl telling me that she wants to be a boy for years. Dude, you're 10, and you've been playing with makeup and Barbies all of your life. You don't do boy things. You don't wear boy clothes. You enjoy makeup. You enjoy watching girly shows and doing girly things. Don't tell me this nonsense because somebody at school is putting ideas in your head. Don't tell me this nonsense. This is where it becomes a problem. This is where Ron DeSantis gets my support because they have done this. And because they have done this, it makes me wonder, how large of a scale have they done this on? How much of our problems are manufactured? And when we have manufactured problems, somebody has worked iniquity on us. They have put ideas that are not true into our heads to puff us up and bring people under their submission of what they say is right and wrong. And it's not that they even care about what's right or wrong. They just want to use this because they ride causes, they work agendas, as Ron DeSantis said, but he could not explain. They work agendas just to bring people under their control, And then you think, well, if I have a problem with my kid, well, there's help. I can bring my kid and get them help, the help that they need, and they'll be better people. But then you don't think to yourself that the problem that you have is manufactured, and it's manufactured under the guise of help. It's manufactured under the guise of social justice. It's manufactured under these things, and they stir up your sense of righteousness so that you're willing to go and cut down someone who doesn't agree with you. But you're not realizing democracy fails when you don't respect the rights of someone else. So if I'm not this way, and none of my kids are actually this way, even though you're putting ideas in a 10-year-old's head, I don't want your nonsense in my house. Okay? Let's not manufacture crises. It is hard enough to be a 10-year-old kid growing up, They don't need to worry about gender identity. They need to worry about development. They're going through this whole rush of hormones and emotions and development. This does not need to be part of the equation, not in my house. Life is complicated enough, I don't need the extra problems. Don't bring this stuff here. It's not I'm discriminating against you. I respect your rights, Democracy requires that we respect each other's rights. But iniquity says I trample all over yours. So when you stand up there and you talk about this whole gender rights movement, you have to understand that you're not respecting my rights. And we live in one nation under a banner. And it doesn't have to be the gay pride banner, okay? It doesn't have to be this banner, because I don't follow this flag. It's not my flag. I respect it being your flag, but it's not my flag. And if you try to make it my flag, you're working iniquity because you're not respecting my rights, In my house, I believe that people are who they are created to be, If a girl is more boyish and wants to wear, boy clothes, jeans and shorts and run around and play in the dirt, fine. My kid don't play in the dirt. She don't get her hands dirty. What's wrong with her? I get my hands dirty. She don't get her hands dirty. I'm more of a boy than she is. And I wouldn't call myself wanting to be a boy, okay? I have no problem to get in the dirt. No problem whatsoever. So let's just get this clear, okay? Don't make your issues my issues. Part of growing a healthy... Let me tell you my rule for life. Part of growing my children up healthy, part of raising them to be productive human beings and good people means I don't put my issues on them. I don't have them fighting my battles. I don't puff them up with entitlement. I have requirements that I put on each one of them according to their own abilities, and sometimes they don't meet my standard, but you know what? They keep that stuff in their room, Well, that room is messy, then I'm bringing it out in my front room. Sometimes my front room is messy because my child used to He doesn't do it so much anymore. But he used to have a thing for throwing all pillows and all blankets on the floor. Couch cushions, everything on the floor. He wanted the couch naked, and he wanted to sit on it naked. No pillows, no blankets, no nothing on it. And he was this way for years, and it drove me nuts. And they would all say, well, Ben makes a mess. And I'd say, but you're not Ben. Don't bring this stuff down here. It doesn't belong in here, So if you don't meet my standard, keep it in your own space, It's about respecting each other. It's about understanding that, oh, you're going to clean that room before you bring bugs in my house, right? You're not going to set me up to live in squalor, okay? Because if you want to make a mess, you want to keep dirty clothes on the floor, that's fine. Get them in the hamper by the weekend. So yeah, they do get picked up at least 3 times a week when I do laundry. I do their laundry. I do laundry every day, right? But I mean, you keep that stuff private, If you can't meet my standard, you keep your stuff to yourself and don't bring it out of my space, or we're going to have issues, right? And so you learn that this is how you function in a family. This is how you function in a community, in a nation, that you keep your mess to yourself if you don't meet society's standards, right? You can't just come up and change society's standards because you want to be different, because you want a mess. You can't do it because, if my whole house looked like my daughter's bedroom floor, oh my Lord, I wouldn't be able to open the front door, I wouldn't be able to live in here. I would be falling over and tripping. I would be miserably unhappy. Stuff would be getting broken because I'd be stepping on it. I'd be totally annoyed. I couldn't live like she lives. But I don't have to, because I'm mom and I set a standard and I lift up the standard. And it's the way that, we keep iniquity at bay. We respect the rights of others. Teenagers are lazy. They are going to have clothes on their floor, They are going to go through their, 10 changes of outfits to find the right one where they don't put anything away. And then they have everything sitting on the end of the bed that they sleep in, right? This is what teenagers do. I was a teenager before myself, so I understand these things. I had teenage sisters before me. I understand how teenagers work. And so I don't let myself get so upset about it, but I let them know that, what you do here is okay to a point, but at some point you have to clean this mess up, right? And it's the same way out in the world. You cannot infringe on other people's rights and expect there to be peace in the world. And for these people out there puffing up people, or these people out there oppressing people, let me take the other side. For these people out there oppressing people and think that because they make different choices in their life that it's okay to attack them. It's not okay. They have to be responsible for their own salvation. They have to be responsible for their own choices, their own life, You can be gay, but if no one's gay around you, what's the point of being gay, right? We all need human connection, right? We all need relationship. We all need to grow together, right? And so all these divisions, this one person who's gay with no one around them, then they're just isolated. But if you do like my daughter does and keep your stuff in the closet, I know everybody's like, I came out of the closet, I don't have to live in shame. No, you don't have to live in shame. But please understand, don't puff up a 10-year-old with entitlement because you think everyone should be like this. Or just to cause problems in the world. Oh, kitty, kitty. Just to make a fuss so that you can come and dominate and rule over somebody's world. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That is working iniquity. When we don't respect the rights of others, when we infringe on them, iniquity can go both ways. You are free to choose who you are. This kitty, she's just meowing away, You have the freedom to be who you are. But please, don't put this idea that just because someone is having a bad day, oh, well, you might be gay. Or maybe you were meant to be a boy. Don't do this nonsense. Whatever my child is, I'm okay with her being her, as long as it's her and not some manipulation that's been planted in her head, where she's going to then grow up and start a movement across the nation of, hey, let's just all have girls be girls, or girls be boys and boys be girls, That's just dumb. That's just dumb. Be satisfied with who God created you to be. I respect you. You like boys' clothes? Cool. I like my blue jeans too. I'm not a fan of high heels. I don't wear heels. I can't walk in them. That don't mean I want to be a boy, I'm just saying. Democracy requires respecting the rights of others. Iniquity says we trample on those rights and we get them to approve of our trampling. Ain't that something? Did you ever think that? That it's like these movements that are going, they're like armies changing standards. They're like armies changing standards. Oppressing other people. But they don't see it because they see themselves as the victim. If you mind your own business, respect the rights of others, that person is free to be who they are. If you mind your business and respect the rights of others, I'm free to raise my girls as girls and my boys as boys. We don't need that nonsense. Don't bring your iniquity into my house. Right? And that's basically how I'm explaining iniquity today. What is going on? My little definition disappeared. But iniquity is so much more than this whole gender argument that we have going. This right to privacy thing is a big thing in the working of iniquity, okay? This thing where we gave up our right to privacy. Oppressive regimes spy on their people to keep them under their control. To suppress anyone who might be falling outside of their domain. Oppressive regimes do this. So when we took the doors off of America, when we said, yes, go ahead with this whole surveillance operation, when we said, go ahead and put these cameras on every street, put drones up in the air, use satellites, put up the internet so that you can hear what people are saying when they're outside, when they're not even around a house with an internet connection, you can still hear what they're saying. When you understand this, so you can't see this, right? You can't see how they're violating your rights because you haven't seen them infringe on you. You haven't seen how they manipulate you. You haven't seen how they control you, how they drive you, how they steer you. And they seem to always steer you with division. They always want you separated from somebody else. So they create issues where they're the solution. Or they think that they can pass laws to correct the problem without understanding that the problem goes so much deeper than this. You cannot just pass laws to say, we won't teach this in school anymore, because it won't work, because we got a whole society of people puffed up with this stuff, right? We got a whole society of people puffed up with the position against it. You cannot pass laws. You have to sit down and have a conversation about what democracy is and what democracy requires, right? You cannot, you can't even have this conversation until you get this fundamental right of domain, of having dominion over your own household, right? Of being able to close the door and have privacy, right? Until you get this, with the understanding that we're not all supposed to be connected at all times. We're not all supposed to be the same. We're supposed to have privacy until you start fighting for these things that really matter, You'll never have democracy. All you'll have is iniquity. And you'll be led by people just spouting off nonsense, right? Go this way, go that way, go this way. No, you have to believe in gender rights. You have to stick with traditional values. Forget all that nonsense. Forget it. Don't bring me into your fight. Don't bring the law into your fight. You will not steer me. When you understand that someone is just steering you, you'll step back and you'll say, I respect the rights of my neighbor. If they have a mess in their room, that is their mess. And as long as it don't come into my house, I don't care what they do, because I have to respect the privacy of others. I have to respect that others have a right to make their own choices. They have a right to make their own mistakes. They have a right to privacy and freedom, a right to express themselves freely, so long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of others. So let's stop creating laws to set us against each other, and only create laws that bring us together in a way that says, I respect the freedom of my neighbor, and my neighbor respects me too. Because if my neighbor is having sex on my front lawn, that's a lewd act, that's indecent. You ought not to be doing it. I don't care what gender you are, You don't do these things. There are some things you only do in private, because to do them in public, it's indecency, You got to keep some stuff behind closed doors. Keep them behind closed doors, and don't have other people spying on them, Respect privacy, and respect that others need privacy. They need you to have privacy. When we start looking at things like this, then we break down iniquity. We break down iniquity from ruling over us, and we start acting like, hey, we're a true democracy. We're a true, unified society, even when we have different beliefs, because we respect the rights of others. Do you get it? Does that make sense? Passing laws won't fix it. You can't govern this stuff. This stuff is personal choice. You can govern the manipulation of it. We're not going to put ideas in 10-year-olds' heads, which is what I think Ron DeSantis was trying to say. Because some people don't know what other people are doing. But if you want to correct them, you can't just go after this one issue. You have to go after all the issues. How much of our problems in society are manufactured by people putting ideas in the heads of children? Stop putting ideas in the head of children. If your job is to teach science and reading and math, then you teach science and reading and math. And I know you sneak in a lot of stuff under literature. I've seen some books in my house. I'm like, they got you reading that? But here's the thing. I know people don't like banning books. We just passed a law in Illinois against book bans. But it is necessary for things to be censored for children. You should not be teaching anything about sexuality. You should be teaching about respecting the rights of others. And it's real hard when you're playing people off each other. But you should be teaching people about the rights of others. Respecting each other. If someone is different, it's okay they're different. That is their freedom. And if we don't respect their freedom, we don't have freedom. So when you're teaching children, teach them right. Teach them how to think. Don't teach them what to think. Because that is not your job to shape the world in this way. You know, it's not your job to make the whole world gender neutral. You know, it's not your job. Your job is to teach them how to think. You teach them how to think in the manner of we respect one another. You don't have to worry about teaching them about the struggle and the plight of the homosexual or transgender or anybody else, because this child knows what oppression is. You can include those, but I'm saying they don't need specifics. They don't need to think, oh wow, so I don't feel special. I feel ignored. You know, I feel alone. So if I join this group, then I'm not alone anymore, because this is how kids are, you know. And so they join up this whole transgender movement because they want to be special. They want some attention. They want to be connected to something bigger than they are. But if you start teaching them respect, you know, if you start teaching them to lift up somebody else, and when they lift up somebody else, they show that they are special. You know? It's just thought, you know? So, I'm sorry, Mr. DeSantis, you know, I respect you. I applaud you for putting, for taking on the issue. But you can't take on the issue when you don't understand it, right? Because it'll blow up in your face and you'll get mud all over you, you know? Teach our children how to think, not what to think. And watch those titles, because if you're teaching them what to think, it's a problem. If you're teaching them how to think, it's different. And when we say, well, how do you teach children how to think without teaching them what to think? You teach them how to build up democracy. You teach them that democracy requires that you respect each other, you know? This other crap is iniquity. This other crap where we pretend like, oh, I have the right for this, I have the right for this, I have the right for this, you know? Where you want to take. You don't. But where you give it, where you give rights away, like you have the right to be who you are, you know? Respect my right as well. Then you're building democracy. So that's all I'm saying for today. And I got to take my kids to get some cat scratchy things, all right? So y'all have a good day. God bless.